I reached out through the family and just asked around if anyone knew anyone in property. So my direct family weren't in property at all. Still aren't in property. I want to get them into property though.
Yeah.
But actually, my dad used to work with someone. He used to be a sales guy with this other guy, and he got into property years ago. This friend of my dad's who he worked with in 1994, I think he bought his first property, and he's just been the very simple way: buy, develop, refinance, or flip on and sell. So literally buy it, run down, refurb it up, and achieve a new valuation. So he'd done that over 30 years, and I thought, I've got to speak to this guy. I've got to meet him in person. So I met a couple of people for coffees. This guy had done really well out of it. Bear in mind now, when he wants to go skiing, he doesn't buy a trip on Ryanair or one of these commercial flight companies. He takes his own jet there, so he's doing pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought I've got to speak to this guy. So sat down with him in his mansion, and yeah, just kind of absorbed everything that I could. He gave me a wealth of knowledge, kind of reinforcing the learning that I've had that you know you can hold on to a property over 20 years, possibly it doubles in value. You can just refinance, and the refinance sum is tax free. And I thought, well, if it makes you money while it's just sat there, a property's just sat there increasing in value over time, it can't really be a bad thing. And if he's done this and if he's advocating it, surely it's a good thing to do. So then I met him for a few times for a few coffees, and I didn't pitch him for finance. I I told him I'd pitch other people for finance. So bear in mind, this guy's in his late 60s. He's done a lot of this, and now he's becoming more cash rich off of these the property income and everything. So I sat down with him and I prepared an investor pack for this deal I found online. And I thought, a really good way to pitch is actually ask for his advice. So I literally sat down with him. I said, I'm looking to pitch for investors. I know a few people who are looking to get into property. They would have cash to put into this deal. Do you mind if you look over my investor pack and just tell me, if you were investing, what would you want to see? What looks good, what looks bad, what information am I lacking? So I got halfway through kind of delving into it with him where he was meant to be helping me out, and he actually stopped me and said, well, why don't I give you the finance? And I was thinking, well, this is kind of kill two birds with one stone. I don't
Yeah.
have to prepare another pack to speak to anyone else. And yeah, that's how it went. So he's actually invested the finance for me to buy this property. It was a really, really good opportunity off of another business owner. He runs multiple businesses as well, the seller of the property, and he was looking to retire. So it came at the right time where I took over a business that kind of had slightly older technological knowledge in it. And I could walk in there and put in this kind of Airbnb knowledge, if you want to say that, and kind of just try and double the business, really. So
Wow.
yeah, it was an opportunity I couldn't really refuse because I saw loads of things in the property and in the business that could be improved because I'm seeing it day to day. We're packaging and selling deals that are Airbnb deals.
Mhm.
We know exactly what to look for when you want to make a property make more money. You want it to stand out on listings. You want it to be a better guest experience. And I saw a few areas where that could be improved with this property. So I just had to go for it.
They say, if you ask for money, you get advice, and if you ask for advice, you get money. And I think this is such a perfect example of that. I advocate the exact same thing that you did. Just creating a tangible outline of the deal that people can see. People always ask, like, what's the best way to raise private money? And they think that it's like just going around and asking people for money, and giving them a theoretical idea of what they're doing. And that's not it. You got to have something that, like, people can touch and see and feel. And like you said, you put together a proposal, but then you don't ask people for money. You offer an opportunity, and that's really what you were doing. You're asking for his advice, but at the same time, it was a huge opportunity for him, and he could see that because he's a trained investor and could see, I'm going to make a really good return on my money if I invest. And he's obviously been mentoring you, so he knows that you're willing to take advice and do things the right way. So it makes a lot of sense for him to invest in that. So that's a great approach that you took. How did you come across this business owner that wanted to sell this property?
It was on a website. in the UK we use Rightmove. I think in the US you use Zillow just for
Yep.
sale houses. Yeah, it
Hmm.
was literally just it was on the residential area rather than the commercial. Essentially, that and a few other properties had been up for sale. So I'd viewed loads of properties, probably like I'd say 20 properties over a few weeks. Long story short, they just, they weren't sort of cutting the mustard. They were too expensive, or, the seller wanted different terms for me, and it didn't work. The numbers didn't work. So I just walked away. I thought, you know what? In the end of the day, it's okay that those properties don't work. I'm sure I'll find something in the future. But then a couple of months later, this property I saw it, being for a massive decrease in price, and it was up for auction. So I was thinking, right, that doesn't usually happen. So I called up and just asked the situation, and he just explained, I just want to sell the property. I'm happy selling the property, and that's kind of it. So with that knowledge, that's when I didn't pitch the investor.
Yeah.
I definitely didn't pitch him. Um, and then, yeah, got the finance in place, decided to purchase the property, purchased it through auction. I negotiated a 90-day completion. So from when we agreed to buy it, I had 90 days to complete on the property. Managed to do it in that time. And yeah, that's kind of how it works. It's funny when you think about people finding good deals. A lot of people say you'll find nothing good on the market. Like everything good has to be off the market, sort of passed you down the side by an estate agent or, direct to the seller. But I mean, I found this online, so I'm going to be an advocate for online, just searching online because, you can see so much of the market in such a short amount of time if you're looking on listings through sort of Rightmove. We have other sites in the UK that you can find sort of commercial listings or property, or sorry, businesses for sale. Sometimes if the business is selling the property as well, that's obviously an added extra. But yeah, it was a really good opportunity that came across.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you know how to search out opportunities within the market and you're really dialed in, um, then I agree. I'm closing in 2 days on Friday on a 5 unit that is, it's on Zillow, and it's, I'm still getting at a huge discount, because it was listed for a while, and it has specific features in my market that I know really well, and it's going to be a great deal. And we buy a lot of them that are on the listed on the open market, so it absolutely can be done. So, what were, I guess, can you give me kind of the broad strokes of what the deal numbers look like on the property?
Yeah, 100%. So it was initially on the market so there's two properties involved in this. I'm just going to put them together for the sake of sort of ease.
Okay.
So initially they were both on the market for 635,000. They then got reduced over time down to 550. So they're both on the market for 550,000. That was when they were still on the open market. And when they went to auction, they were reduced to 340. So obviously
Wow.
that drop is quite big.
Yeah.
I ended up, so it went for a week auction. I ended up not going ahead with it because I was a bit too scared. I wanted to get a surveyor around to value the property, or sorry, give a level two survey on the property before I bought it, which includes a valuation. So at least with that, pen and paper valuation, I know that just by buying the property, I'm going to make some money on the equity gain,
Yeah.
which was the main goal for this equity and cash flow. I actually didn't buy it there. I bought it on the next auction because it just went from that 1 week auction straight to another 1 week auction. I bought
What
it
was
after that.
what was the reason it wasn't selling at these different price points?
It's because it's so unique.
Mm,
So, and the condition of the property isn't like it's, brand spanking new. It's not amazing condition. It's
yeah.
perfect for the market that we aim to achieve, which is contractors, because contractors generally, I mean, it's a nice place for contractors as long as they've got for good money, a really nice bed, nice facilities, they're pretty much happy.
Yeah.
They don't have too many requirements for, loads of pool tables or like a swimming pool or any of these great amenities and features.
Yeah.
Um, it's more of a simple requirement, I'd say. So yeah, I think that's why they weren't selling, and a lot of people thought it was a risky business because maybe this, you know, without being too extreme, maybe the accounts you couldn't see the accounts very well. So for the previous
Okay.
business, it was hard to tell the viability of it, all the other, things to go with it. A few people were actually looking to buy it and convert it into a residential house,
Mm,
which, these buildings are huge. One is a 13 bed and one is a 9 bed. They're next to each other. So they'd be very big buildings. You'd have to obviously have a lot of money to buy it, then convert it, and then be able to sit on the equity of that property as your own home, not necessarily making you money. So I think the market for buyers was very low.
got it.
um, yeah, and it went for sale. We bought it eventually for 320,000, and I think I actually felt quite rushed to make that offer because there was another person coming to look at it. They were flying over from Ireland, which is probably a 2-3 hour flight from where this property is. So I was thinking if people were going to fly over to see the property, I don't think they're going to walk away. They're almost definitely going to purchase it on the spot. So I had to close it. So we did close it 320,000 with auction terms. So auction fees on there, they're about 4.2%. I can't remember exactly what that cost was, along with solicitors, stamp duty, which stamp duty, I imagine you have that in the US. You pay a tax to the government when you buy a property.
Yeah, in different states, it's different, yeah, rules on that. But yeah,
Yeah, we have that. So yeah, that went well. I think all in was around 355,000. But the great thing is, as soon as I agreed to buy it, the week after, I was like, okay, let's get that surveyor in there. I just need to know for mental sanity that I'm not making
yeah.
a bad decision. And in the state of like a non-running business, vacant possession, they valued it at 510.
Wow.
So already just getting in the property, you've made that equity gain. Obviously, you don't realize the equity gain until you can refinance, which is
Hmm.
actually something I'm looking to do now. We're coming up to a year of ownership. Generally, most properties that are commercial based, which this one is, you need a year's books to then refinance. So we're hoping to get that over the line in the next few months, which would be really, really good. And then I'll use that equity to do the next project, buy, probably develop, maybe sell, maybe keep. We'll see when the time comes.
That's great. That's great. So what was the time frame between when you closed on the purchase of the property and when you were able to start booking out the rooms, and what all was involved in that? Like what was the cost, and what were some of the things that you did to the property?
So the great thing about buying the property as it was it was being run as a guest house before. So very traditional guest house. Staff on the door, they welcome you to the property. You've got an option of like a breakfast or an evening meal.
Wow.
Very catered accommodation. So very literally like a hotel. So yeah, the day I got the keys was the day we were taking bookings. There were people still walking in the door, who obviously knew the previous owner, had an amazing service last time, and thought they wouldn't assume that it's been taken over because we kept quite a lot of the branding the same. Everything looks as if it's the same ownership for the last few years. So yeah, day one we started taking bookings, which was very very nerve
Yeah.
wracking because
Yeah.
I mean, looking back, I don't really know how I did it. It was I walked in, suddenly we're taking bookings for a 22-bed hotel, where actually a couple of the staff that said they'd stay on didn't. The week before I completed or closed, they said that they were going to retire. So I was thinking, yeah, these challenges are getting even bigger. But luckily, when I walked in, a couple of the staff there wanted to stay, and they were absolutely amazing. I don't think I could have done it without them. So we've got a full time on site manager at the moment. She is absolutely spectacular. She handles most of the day to day managing. So, for example, if we do an evening meal or a breakfast, she helps out and she does that. She does some of the cleaning. We've also got other cleaners on site as well. So without that team in place, I think it would have very easily gone south.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were amazing help. And then from day one, it was just about putting systems in place. So I think we've had a call before about the systems you have in a business and how vital they are to how you operate day to day, because one person can't do everything in the business. It's just not doable. That
Yeah.
you need help from automations, software, other staff. There needs to be other people or other help in place to make sure that everything runs smoothly.
Hmm. Are you local to that hotel?
I live about 3 hours drive away.
Wow. What were you there a lot when after you first purchased it? I mean, you got the keys there, and you got the staff
Yeah.
and taking bookings. Like, how did you manage that initially?
Yeah, so for about a month, I just lived there because, on day one, we don't have the software in place. The
Hmm.
systems aren't there. There's people knocking on the door wanting not wanting a room for the night. Obviously, they don't know at the moment. We're looking to automate it. But yeah, I had to do that all from the start, and it was quite a good experience being in there day to day because you only really realize what has to happen when you're doing it day to day, and especially with an operation like that, I feel like you need to see it firsthand to take on a project like that. If I was just, I took the keys, walked away, I think would have very easily gone south. I think there's a kind of a speciality to getting hands-on experience on your first deal, or at least your first few deals, because you get some sort of realization of what things maybe cost, what the right procedures are, standard operating procedures, how to treat guests, how to talk to guests, how to make sure everyone's experience is as they would expect walking into a property. You
Hmm.
know. So yeah, basically lived there for a month, and then after that, a little bit less frequently, and then now I'm going there every month or two. I haven't been there since sort of middle of December, and it's late January now. So yeah, about a month and a half, and I don't plan on going up there until late February. So it's great because the on ground staff are doing an amazing job. They're getting exactly what they want, which is a stable income. My income is obviously much more volatile from this property. Like for example, it's slightly seasonal. I mean, you probably have it in the Airbnb industry in the US, where some months are great, some months are not so great.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's balancing the risk, but yeah, it's really proved to be an exciting project.
Yeah. Do you still do like meals too? You still do breakfast and offer a dinner?
Yeah, occasionally.
Wow.
I mean, the funny thing is we lose a lot of money doing breakfast or evening meals.
Yeah.
Like we lose double the value of whatever they're paying us for the meal because we only charge, £12 is a small amount to pay. It's probably like 14, $15 for a fully cooked meal, with a drink of your choice as well. So, but then you've got to think about the overheads that go into that, staff wages for a few hours to
Yeah.
prepare the meal, cook it, do everything around that and the ingredients as well. But we do offer that because a lot of people who come, they've come for years, and they come because they get that personalized service, which
Mm.
we still want to be able to provide. If they want that, we want to be able to step in and go, yeah, we can still facilitate that, which we do. We're really, really, really glad that we can still offer that.